Hi everyone, Woody here with another Factel Daily video. Listen, there's something fascinating happening in the commodity space right now, and today I am joined by our resident geologist, James Cooper, to explore it. Welcome, James. How you doing?
G'day, Woody. Going well. Good to be back.
First official chat of the new year, I believe. You have a good break?
I did. Lots of time at the beach. We're in South Australia on the coast, so we've got lots of fishing, lots of swimming. Not much luck on the fishing front, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
that's the usual case. Just nice being out of the water.
Well, you're back on the tools now, and you've been connecting some major dots between in the commodities market, which connect AI, from AI to the development of geopolitical tensions, and how and shows how they all lead back to one thing, and that's raw materials. So you highlight how in today's piece how commodities link together seemingly disparate global trends from, like I said, AI and trade wars. Could you expand on what specific commodities that you think will be most strategically important in 2025 and why?
Okay, back to the point. So I think if we look at all the big global events happening in the world today, we can really there's a common thread through all of it, and it is commodities, raw materials. So it is the common link which is bringing back all these events together. So energy, I think, could be crucial. We've got just recently the US and Trump. So with its tariffs, which has announced a 25% tariff on Canadian goods imported into the US. So there's major ramifications there between US and Canadian trade. So the most obvious pushback for Canada, being a resource-rich nation, is to then limit certain metals or energy into the US to respond to these tariffs. So it's just another, I guess, key point where commodities are really one of the sort of will take center stage in a lot of these big issues, big global events that are happening. Just with the Canadian example, so the US refineries rely off or need to process a type of oil called heavy crude. But the US produces light crude, which it exports because its refineries can't process this type of oil. So it actually has to bring in the Canadian oil to actually use its own refineries. So it's just all these sort of complex issues at play with commodities and tariffs, and really no one knows how it will unfold, but it's certainly an exciting space to be in, and there are certainly opportunities for commodity investors.
Yeah, you talking of the tariffs, you touch on China's commodity advantage in trade negotiations, particularly in critical minerals. How do you see that dynamic playing out for investors as countries race to secure their supply chains, and what opportunities might this create?
Yeah, well, the China situation is quite similar to Canada, because we talked about Canada as being a resource-rich nation. It provides the US with this heavy crude, which its refineries need, provides the US with uranium and critical minerals. But similar, China also provides a lot of processed critical minerals, which are crucial for the US tech, defense, vehicle manufacturing. So it's where China and Canada, resource-rich nations, really have this quite powerful pushback against US tariffs by limiting certain minerals or energy into the US, which could have a lot of fallback for US consumers with inflation, and even impact some of the sort of supply chains for manufacturing and batteries and renewables and a whole host of sectors. So it comes back to the whole issue where these big global events are rooted in commodities. And I think 2025 is where we'll really start to see these events kick off and perhaps put more focus on certain types of metals.
You also draw an interesting connection between AI development and energy demands. Can you elaborate on how you see this relationship evolving and what it means for different energy commodities from, say, uranium to renewables?
Yeah, well, again, so another big global event, which is rooted in commodities, so energy. So one of the big stories for artificial intelligence, so you've got these, what they call hyperscale AI data centers, which can consume energy on a level which is comparable to sort of small nations. So huge energy demands coming from AI infrastructure. And I think what this sort of highlights is right now we're sort of debating, okay, uranium, nuclear energy versus oil and gas versus renewables, which one's better? Well, I think what AI will do will just sort of demand all the options. So I think we'll have to have all the options on the table to sort of serve the huge demand from AI. So I think that
Yeah.
that just presents opportunities across the whole energy space, whether that's oil and gas, critical minerals feeding the renewables, or nuclear energy. So I think there's huge opportunities in energy and across the metals. So it's
And
these global events.
that leads nicely to my next question, which is about precious metals. You mentioned central banks increasing precious metals purchases as part of a move away from US dollar dominance. How do you see that trend affecting different segments of the resource sector beyond just precious metals?
Yeah, so that's where we've got these nations, the BRIC nations, looking at exiting sort of the US dollar as the global reserve currency. We've seen examples in in the last sort of 12 months with Saudi Arabia accepting Chinese yuan for its oil exports. Traditionally, that's been the petrodollar system, in which Saudi Arabia has received US dollars for its oil exports. So that's just a sort of example of the fragmentation of the sort of US dollar hegemony that's dominated global trade. And I think we'll continue to see a shift away from that. And that's one of the reasons that a lot of central bankers outside of the US are sort of hoarding gold and increasing their volumes of gold and precious metals holdings. So I think this is another example of where we've got big global events, which are again rooted. The story can then be linked back to commodities, which is the opportunity for precious metals over the next couple of years.
As the title of your piece today says, all roads lead to commodities, right? And it does feel like, I mean, I know that as part of your analysis, you do take into account cycles and the cyclical nature of markets, and that's nowhere more precedent than in the commodities sector. And I guess the overarching thing is that just the sheer lack of investment in all of these things, whether it's precious metals, whether it's energy, and whether it's critical minerals. It feels like if we're coming to a point. I mean, when was the last major start of a super cycle? I know that's a bit of a mining cliche now, but it was 20 years ago, over 20 years ago.
Exactly, yeah. So early 2000s, that's when the last super cycle started,
Yeah,
and driven primarily by growth in China.
yeah,
But this time around, we've got so many different factors that are culminating at once into demand factors, driven factors. And that's all happening at a time when there's been this sort of 10 to 15 year period of underinvestment in this new mine developments and exploration. So it's really exciting times, really interesting times to be following this sector.
And that is why you also make a little bit of an announcement in your piece today. We are launching from next week. I wouldn't say it's a big launch, but we're basically siphoning off your writing time from Fat Tail Daily. You're still featuring on a Thursday with a main piece on the commodity sector for the week, but we are launching what we're calling James Cooper's mining memo. Do you want to just give us a little bit more information about that? It's a free resource to all Fat Tail Daily subscribers. Should be really good.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're launching that next Tuesday, so first edition. So keep an eye on that for your into your inbox. That'll be coming out every Tuesday and Friday. Essentially, it's a short-ish update. Well, just be providing interesting links, charts, and anything that I could find that's useful. That people looking to watch this space, the resources, energy. And I'll give you my take on why I think it's important. So you don't have to click on that link if you don't have time. I'll give you a quick summary, but really just another avenue where I can share all the information, all the events that are taking place.
I think the point is it's such a fast-paced moving market and things happen day to day, not just week to week. And so it's just a way to keep people updated in a more timely manner, I guess, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, should be cool. All right, James, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time today. We'll look forward to the mining memo being launched next week, and I'll be in touch again next Thursday for another chat.
Great. Thanks, Woody. Cheers.